pledge. Pledge Okay, you may be seated. Well, welcome to the award ceremony. I want to appreciate everybody coming out in attendance here. Also, we have to show our appreciation to those personnel that have to work today that would like to be here, and some of those people that actually went out and are working for the people that are here today so they can be present. So we appreciate them doing that. I want to thank the awards committee for their efforts. It was a significant push to get this done in time, so I'd like to thank them. Also, Director Gilmore for his efforts in making this a priority for the department, which is a big deal. It's important that we recognize our personnel, so thanks to Director Gilmore. Thank you for that. Yes, Commissioner Bender wants you to stand, apparently. Go ahead and stand up. There's Director Gilmore, so when you see him later, Director Gilmore likes high fives, preferably high fives for Director Gilmore. High five. Also would like to thank UWF for hosting us out here. They helped put this event on, obviously. We appreciate their efforts. Johnny and the crew, thank you very much. Appreciate your help. Also would like to show our appreciation for some of our special guests out there today. Commissioner Bender, Debbie Bowers is here as well. Commissioner Bender has said that if you guys wanted to go to McGuire's after, that he's treating. So just show up, hit him up right before he leaves, and give him his name so he has the number of people to reserve seats. McGuire's. Thank you for that. It's very generous of you. Appreciate that. We also have a representative from Representative Salzman's office, Debbie Malzberger. Debbie, thank you for coming. She has a special award to give out to a couple personnel from her office. Restroom locations, just so you know, they're between the two doors. So the exit doors here, the restrooms are right in the middle. There's masks and whatever else you need that are out there as well. So if you feel the need, that's where you got to go. I've already been in the bathrooms. They're very nice, multiple mirrors to look at, so you have that opportunity, okay? So again, I appreciate you guys coming out, and I'd like to have Chief Kenterbone say a couple of words.
He gave me a time limit since it seems like he likes the microphone a lot better than most of us. First off, thank you for coming. As I put out earlier in the week, it's really important that we get this done, get it done in person. Recognizing those on this department that have gone above and beyond in the line of duty is something that we have to do. And then I look up there and I see the people behind our firefighters, all the family. And a special thanks to the family and families of all of our members. Without you and your support, the job doesn't get done. Other than that, let's have a good day. Let's recognize our folks. Let's remember our military, our members and brothers that are out there, out on the line. Let's remember those west of us. They're having little issues that lost whole departments right now. And let's celebrate our folks in the best way we can by recognizing them for the jobs they've done. Thank you.
So the way that we're going to do the awards, obviously, we have the first three here are the recipients of the awards. So basically, they're going to go stage right. So when you get your award, you're going to come up stage right. If we can, hold all applause till the end after we get done talking about the event, so we don't have too many pauses and I have to call somebody and then they don't know because you can't hear because of the applause. So wait till the end. There'll be pictures. Basically, the people that are getting the award will come up here and stand, and you'll have your opportunity to take your pictures, and then Community and Media Relations, which thank them for also being here, they'll take pictures. Those will be available to you through Facebook or through email. We'll get those out to the personnel so you can utilize those, which that's professional photography, not to say you don't have those capabilities maybe, but we have that to offer to you, okay? So that'll be available, that photography. The main thing is that These awards are super important. We haven't had them since 2019. Some of that's COVID, some of that's funding issues. The department turned 20 years old in 2020. Basically, ECFR was started 20 years ago. Started with 36 people. We're 156 personnel now. That's a big, big change. 21 years now, we are after that year. Now the department's just old enough to rent a car and to buy alcohol on its own, so it's still new. There's a lot of work to do. There's a lot still to be done. So don't give up that. We've been through a lot of adversity over the past 3 years, tremendous adversity, people deciding to stay, people deciding to go, people leaving. But this is what we're about right here. Despite the odds, despite the adversity, we still perform at the highest level necessary. And to have this amount of awards and these events up here that'll occur, and to see the performance that was done under these adverse conditions is super commendable. And that's who we are. That's who we are. And so I'm proud to be up here to give these awards to you, because that is truly who we are. And that is who the citizens need to see, and that's who your family needs to see today. And we appreciate you being here, okay? So we're going to start off, and our first award goes out to Dwayne Bradshaw's family. If they can come up to the stage, please.
So what I have here is something written by Deputy Chief Williams, who unfortunately wasn't able to be with us today. In his words, in the early morning hours of November 6, 2019, he received a call from the comm center that has forever changed his life. The dispatcher notified him that one of our firefighters was struck by a log truck while working at the scene of an accident on Alabama Highway 112. There wasn't much information, as it had just occurred. However, the dispatcher said it sounded like it was critical. He arrived a few minutes later at the scene when they were loading Dwayne onto the Life Flight helicopter that was on the bridge. After he was loaded, he was transported to Sacred Heart Hospital. He began talking with the firefighters on scene and gathering information as to what happened, trying to make sense out of what would be a tragedy. It was obvious that everyone was shaken up and concerned about Dwayne. Some were even in shock as they were trying to process what happened. A short time later, he received another call from the comm center, giving him the devastating news that Dwayne had succumbed to his injuries. Shocked and in disbelief that this man he had known since he was 10 or so was gone. He left the scene and drove to the hospital. There were family, friends, and colleagues there. It was at this point that the loss was really catching up to him psychologically. He was so upset at that point he couldn't speak with the LT of the Alabama Highway Patrol, and he stayed until the family left, and then he went on. The next week was a roller coaster of emotions as arrangements were coordinated, debriefings attended, and the final funeral services. Dwayne was the first son, a brother, a father, and a husband. He was a wonderful man, to put into simple terms. He knew Dwayne as a man who didn't speak ill of anyone, a man willing to help anyone in need. He was not only a public servant, working as a police officer and then a firefighter, but he was also a servant to his country, where he had just recently returned from a deployment overseas. He had admirations of attending medic school and furthering his career. Dwayne loved every day. Paul says that he had learned from Dwayne to appreciate every second, because you don't know when the Lord is going to call you home. Appreciate your family, your friends, and don't take today for granted. Dwayne had touched many members of the fire service as a leader and an instructor, and he is greatly missed and will always be remembered. With that, we'd like to present his parents with the Final Alarm Medal in honor of your son.
The next awards that we're going to present are from the NAS shooting So I'd like these individuals to come up, please. Lieutenant Diamond, Firefighter Pearson, Firefighter Howard, Firefighter Jackson, Firefighter Morris, and Firefighter Polk. Lieutenant Hunter could not be here today. He is sick. So please come up to the stage, which should be stage right, gentlemen, over here. Right here, stage right. Yes. I've been told by Johnny Marks that in America, they do it differently, everywhere else obviously, but in America we do it from our perspective, which is an interesting point, from the actor's perspective. Stage right. It's our perspective. So this particular incident, we're firefighters, right? We're not law enforcement officers, though some of us, I think they are. Where's Lieutenant Jansen? There he is. So for us, this type of event is completely foreign. You know, we're there to render aid, to force entry, to put the fires out, to do things of that nature. This was completely foreign to us. So this is why this is super important to the awards committee, that we honor these individuals. And some of these awards we'll go through here. I can't pull this person out and tell you this is the person they saved. But the acts that they committed were so stressful and so dangerous to them and to their crew members that it deserves that type of honor and that type of award. Obviously, we're all aware that if you live in Pensacola, the NAS shooting that took place, these personnel responded. It was during shift change. There was some changing of personnel. And there was a point at which they thought they had the shooter, the sole shooter, under control, but they weren't certain, not 100%. And they didn't have SWAT team personnel or personnel there to assist them in a room-to-room search. So these personnel forced upwards of 25 doors with law enforcement officers at gunpoint, going door to door to either make sure the shooter's gone or to rescue anybody else that might have locked themselves in one of the rooms and was injured, and they were going there to assist. That is a very complicated, difficult situation. They were asked to do that. They went ahead and performed regardless of their fears or their lack of training on this particular issue, but they conventionally forced upwards of 25 doors. So I'd like to honor these individuals for their efforts. Please give me a round of applause. And now's your time to take a picture. This is picture time for you, okay? Give me a thumbs up when you're ready, CMR, when you're done. Good? Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. Stage left. Your perspective. Stage left. So this particular incident, since we have so many, and that's the unfortunate thing of not having it every year, is we're compiling all these incidents. If you're unfamiliar with Escambia County, it's an anomaly. Whether you're law enforcement, EMS, or fire, we do our job. What we're titled as, we do it. So we go to a lot of calls, and again, like I referenced, despite the adversity that we've had, our personnel are always focused, they're into the job, they train beyond normal tactics and strategies, so then when these situations present themselves, we are ready to perform at the level necessary. So to the stage, I'd like to have, wow, how did that get flipped? How did Victor's name get? It's probably fitting with your name. So that's actually the Russian spelling of your name. Proper spelling in Russian. That's crazy. I probably looked at this thing like 10 times and I never saw that. It's Russian. I was hacked by the Russians in the PowerPoint. So these are actually two separate events, but the same thing. So obviously it's detailed in your booklet, but what occurred was we had two separate situations where Lieutenant Kuntz was the lieutenant in charge of both of these separate companies, and we had incidents where a vehicle was on top of a victim. In both situations, the victim had significant injuries that either put them into potential cardiac arrest, and both of them were not breathing. So not only did the personnel extricate the individual in a timely manner, they also rendered aid which saved their life. So that's a significant effort. So you're focused not only on just getting the person out, but then how do we treat this person after to save their life. So that's a significant effort because there's so much going on. It's so chaotic in some of these situations that regardless of if you've been to them before, each one's slightly different. And so you always have to be conscientious of the changes that are taking place. So without a doubt, both these incidents that occurred were a tremendous effort on their behalf that are not traditional firefighting, right? They're utilizing other tools and techniques within the job to save people's lives. And we appreciate their efforts and give them a round of applause. We give Coons the 2. So, and actually, they'll be getting Lieutenant Coons will be getting 2 medals for the separate events, too, for his efforts. So he has actually 2. I know he's up there once. CMR, let me get out of the way. Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate that. Stage left. Oh, and Connor Wood, right there, he's actually 22 years old? 26, sorry. I know the image does not portray that adequately, okay, but he is old enough to drive. That's an easy pick, though. I'm sorry, Wood. That's an easy one to pick on. That's not very witty. This next I'd like to have is Lieutenant Chapman. He's actually on duty today. We were able to get him over here, so Lieutenant Chapman to the stage, please. Try to get a swagger as you walk up, too, because everybody's looking at you right now, so it's like a tough walk. So this particular incident was during Hurricane Sally, so everybody knows that incident. So we had strike teams which came from different parts of Florida, and a strike team is basically just like us, an engine company or a ladder company, and they come from a different department and assist us during the time that we're going to run in excess of calls, or it gives us, the personnel that are working in Escambia, the opportunity to go home, take care of our house, take care of other needs while Sally had obviously damaged a bunch of our homes. That gives us a break. And so they actually had a strike team in Station 17 with Lieutenant Chapman. So he was actually working with another company that he never works with and getting them to follow directions and operate in the parameters that we operate. So this was a structure fire that occurred, was it the next day after Sally? Yeah, so the strike team was still here. We still didn't have power. This actually fire started because they re-energized the power to the house and they had items that were on the stovetop. And they didn't know they had the stove still on, so it started up. But Lieutenant Chapman got on duty. They understood that they had entrapment, which we always assume we have somebody inside a structure that's on fire because people that die in structure fires die in structures. In Escambia County, we have people that live in sheds. So if a structure is on fire, we always assume somebody's in there and we will act accordingly in order to save that person's life. The interesting thing about this scenario, too, is that Lieutenant Chapman was able to initially determine that the best course of action was to take the victim out the window because going back through the alpha side or the front side of the house was not going to be feasible. So they went to a room, dragged the victim into the room, broke the window out, called for additional companies to come around to the Charlie side or the back side of the house, which is that window there. That's why you don't see a lot of smoke damage because that door was already closed. And so they were able to seek shelter in there until the crews could come and they passed the victim out the window. So it was an awesome save, and we appreciate Lieutenant Chapman's efforts, and we'd like to give him a round of applause. Charles Bailey. That doesn't constitute clapping, so that's okay. If you get a what, that's all right. If you get that in really quick. You won't get charged for that. So this particular situation, obviously, we go to emergencies, and so we're in the general different mindset of those individuals that are experiencing that emergency. And so they don't realize we need to assess the situation prior to engaging sometimes. Once we get on scene, we're going to make an assessment of the situation and then determine appropriate actions for that situation. Well, for Charles Bailey, he didn't have that opportunity, okay? So once he got on scene, the citizens, he was getting off the truck, and they literally grabbed him and ripped him from his crew and told him, hey, there's somebody in this window. So he gets to the window, and the victim's partially out of the window already, falls back inside. So he has to rapidly determine what he's going to do. Is he going to wait? Is he going to go? He decides to go, gets her, pulls the victim back out the window and saves her life. So sometimes it's not even the incident that's creating the chaos, it's the actual people. So luckily, he was able to compose himself enough to determine the appropriate action necessary to resolve the situation. So we appreciate Charles Bailey for his efforts. Please give him a round of applause. Thank you, Charles Bailey. So I'd like to stage Lieutenant Scallon, Firefighter Harrison, and is Keating here? Was he able to make it, Keating? Okay, he's not here. So a couple of these, we actually have video that's okay to show. To give you scale, I used a video to give you an idea of the extent with which they went and the level of commitment that they chose. There's been numerous instances where ECFR has to step up in ways that we would never have imagined, such as the NAS shooting, doing the things that we had to do there because there was nobody else to do it. And that's what we traditionally do, and that's one thing I love working here, is that the personnel are so committed to helping the citizens in doing what we're tasked to do, regardless of consequences. So this is definitely one of those scenarios. This is a tower. Initially we thought it was going to be a rescue. It ended up doing a recovery for one worker that was killed while working on this tower. This is a 2,000 feet in the air radio tower in Robertsdale, Alabama. And the worker was pretty much at the top. Would you say maybe 100 feet from the top? So 1,900 feet they had to go up. They assisted the personnel that were working. Their job solely was to make sure that if anything else happened to those workers or to the situation, that they were there to mitigate that. We had gone there as a support role, and no other agency wanted to perform this task. They all denied it. So we went ahead and performed the task, and I want to show you, just give you a perspective. There is a video here. Sorry. That is actually taken by Lieutenant Van Meter and Lieutenant Scallon, who were in the Alabama Highway Patrol helicopter that they provided us for reconnaissance. So that was actually them taking the video. They get closer so then they can see exactly where the victim is and what's going on, and they were able to determine that most likely the victim was deceased at that time. So that's the perspective. That's something you never want to ask personnel to have to do. It's beyond some of our capabilities, what we've ever experienced, but again, there are certain situations that present themselves where there's no other way to resolve it other than just to get it done. So we appreciate their efforts in that. Thank you for that. I'd like to give them a round of applause. Thank you. Picture for CMR. Hold on, Lieutenant Scallon. Hold on, I don't get the thumbs up yet. Thank you. The next incident we have is Lieutenant Shaw to the stage, please. So these are one of the situations where you're getting dispatched to a structure fire, regardless of the caller information, regardless of what you've been doing for the past. If you're working a 24 hours, some of these personnel have worked 72, 120 hours in a row sometimes. You still have to maintain your level of preparedness. You can't allow yourself to just slack off, to do this or do that. You're always in a constant state of readiness. That's stressful in itself. It's annoying sometimes. But when you do that, you put yourself in the best position possible to do the job that you're required to do. And this is an exact scenario to where, regardless of the caller information, regardless of what's presented, you're prepared, you're in your gear, you're ready to go, you're ready to facilitate a rescue at a moment's notice. And that sometimes is one of the harder things, like I said, is because sometimes it doesn't happen. And so you always have to constantly reset your priorities every time you come to work to make sure that's your top priority. So in this case, Lieutenant Shaw made sure he was doing that. And it paid off for him because he was able to assist or facilitate a rescue inside this apartment complex. It was cooking, I'm sorry, correct? Was it a cooking fire? Smoking. And the female victim was on the floor, and they were able to rescue her. So, and that goes to, again, we're going to see a number of instances like that, to where the person are putting themselves in a position to be successful. That people that are not successful are those that do not train for it, do not think it's going to happen, and then don't execute it when it does. Thank you, Lieutenant Shaw, for your efforts. A round of applause, Lieutenant Shaw. Where are you at, CMR? You keep on moving on me. Oh, okay, there you are. You're like a ninja. Like Firefighter Spear, is District Chief Stevens here? Okay, Firefighter Spear. So this again is one of those situations, this is a little bit different, to where they're actually dispatched to an activated fire alarm. So really, not a structure fire. They're not even thinking that it's necessarily burning, even though a fire alarm activation indicates that there could be fire, right? There's many departments across this country that will not put their bunker gear on or think that the fire alarm activation is really a result of fire. It's scary to hear that, but that's a fact. Okay, obviously, just like you always reference in the old saying is that you could have a C- doctor, right? Everybody wants an A+ doctor. So what we try to be here is A+ firefighters, and so we're gonna wear our gear regardless of the scenario if that's what we should be doing, so they're gonna do that. And so with this situation, they had an activated fire alarm, which turned out to be a fire. And so once they were presented with the situation, they were able to overcome it because they were prepared to do that. And so that's the important thing with this particular scenario, is that regardless of the call, they were ready to perform the work necessary because they were prepared and they took it seriously. Also for this incident, representative from Michelle Salzman's office, she had heard about it when it had happened. This is Debbie Malsberger, and she'd like to present the crew, and you can get it to the rest of them, a couple of proclamations.
This is a tribute that was drafted by House Bill Drafting for Florida House of Representatives. It's rather long, so I'm not going to read the entire thing. But the House wanted to recognize, and Representative Salzman wanted to recognize, the entire crew of Ladder 7 and your amazing efforts in saving this person.
Round of applause, and then pause for a picture. Thank you. So this is a scenario, and I apologize if the way I term this makes it sound disrespectful, but this is a situation the firefighters salivate about. This is a situation where you are constantly geeking out to this possibility to happen, because it is the more dangerous scenario that can present itself in a structure fire. So when we have entrapment, and in this case it was not verified entrapment, again, like I said, we're focused on, if we're going to a structure fire, there's going to be people trapped. That's just always the way our thought process is here in Escambia County. Lieutenant Mills and Firefighter Fangman. So again, that's what they're doing. They're coming in, they're not the first ones on scene, they're not the second, they're like the third ones in scene. They're required to do a search. In this particular scenario, it presented itself perfectly for this, because the alpha side, we call the alpha side entry point, is the front door, okay? That door is not accessible because of the amount of fire that was presenting itself. So they realized they needed to do something called vent enter search. Vent enter search is a tactic we utilize to make entry, regardless of where it is in the structure, to look for life. And so what happens is very disorienting, because you're entering through a window. In this particular case, it was a window. It could be another door or something along those lines, but generally it's a window when you vent enter and search. Under fire conditions, they don't have a hose line. The fire is not extinguished. It's still active fire, but they have to search for the victim. So firefighter Fangman went in first. Lieutenant Mills went ahead and assisted as they found the victim. Fangman had to go down through the room into the hallway to find the victim. It's a significantly dangerous tactic, but that's one that we train on the regular basis. We're always trying to think of those things that may come up. In this particular situation, it obviously paid off, and I do have a video. And the video is of the victim coming out the window, and I have to stop it because we can't show the victim's face. But this is the standpoint of another firefighter coming around to assist. They've already radioed and said the victim's coming out. That's Lieutenant Mills had went in and helped drag the victim to that point, and then they needed more help getting him out. So they were able to get the victim to the window. And then the crews actually assisted in basic life support to bring this gentleman back to life. It's, again, it is one of those scenarios that are the more dangerous one you can ever perform in a structure fire. They are thinking it, executed it, and accomplished the task, and thank you for your efforts. Appreciate that. Round of applause. Thank you. Picture, CMR picture. Was that, did you say go daddy? Oh, right on. Future firefighter, that's the way to be. Lieutenant Barnett. So again, this is another structure fire call. Again, we're firefighters. So, and put this in perspective. So we did awards in March of 2019. So these are all events that took place basically from February 2019, January, February 2019 till today. Well, actually just a couple months ago. So this is the level of events that take place here in Escambia County that require our interventions. And we get fortunate. There's a bunch of personnel that, again, that are not here that work just as hard as everybody else up here but don't get that opportunity sometimes. But again, when you put yourself in the position to be successful, you will be successful when that position presents itself. So in this scenario, it was a mobile home fire. Lieutenant Barnett and firefighter Herring, who's not here and does not have a picture, went through the Charlie side, went to the bedroom, was able to find the victim on the bed, pull him out, and it was a perfect scenario for us. Sometimes we don't get that opportunity. As you've seen, sometimes EMS doesn't get there right when we need to. This particular case, they were right there and were able to receive the victim and do advanced life support in order to save that victim's life. So again, we're putting ourselves in the position to be successful, and they were in this particular case, and we want to honor them. And thank you, Lieutenant Barnett, for your efforts. Thank you. Round of applause. Pause for the picture. Thank you. To the stage, Lieutenant Ackerman, Firefighter Pittman, Firefighter Rohr, and Firefighter Welch. In the booklet, Rohr was acting. So what we do when there's a scenario where there's not a lieutenant available, we have actors. Means they qualify to be a lieutenant, they just have not been promoted yet. And so they would then be pushed forward if a lieutenant was out and we couldn't fill the spot, they're gonna come forward and act. So Firefighter Rohr right now is still a firefighter, and at the time he was acting in the role of a lieutenant. So water rescue is something that we do. That's a picture up there of the setup that we have. We were required to provide this service in District 19, which is Perdido Key, in District 13, which is Pensacola Beach. We have supportive roles, which in this case assisted greatly because some of these personnel came from Station 8, which is Inverary Point. This took place out on Perdido Key. This scenario is even compoundingly more complicated because there was not just one, not just two, but 6 people that were in distress in the Gulf of Mexico. This is how complicated it can be to work at Pensacola Beach and Perdido Key because you have to go from fighting structure fires in your bunker gear to getting all your bunker gear off to go into the Gulf of Mexico to save people's lives. So that's a pretty stressful scenario. Besides firefighting, this is one of the more dangerous things that we ever do. And so to facilitate the rescue of 6 people, they actually entered the water with themselves and then also utilized the jet ski to rescue people. Peter Welch is one of the awards committee members, and he's up here too, and I thank you for that. Yeah, I'm just addressing you since you're in the middle. So this is a very stressful scenario, and to be able to facilitate 6 people is a big deal. So we want to appreciate their efforts. Thank you, gentlemen, and a round of applause for you. Thank you. Peter Welch again, people. Peter Welch. So again, remember, Commissioner Bender is going to take us out here after the award ceremony at McGuire's. Hopefully this scenario will not present itself again, but Firefighter Hoskins to the stage. But you were doing the tip, right, Mrs. Bowers? You were going to do the tip? Okay, so nobody has to leave a tip. Mrs. Bowers is going to leave the tip. So this is actually off duty. Firefighter Hoskins was there, as any good son would, celebrating Mother's Day, and took his mom to McGuire's, and they were enjoying their meal when all of a sudden a female patron of McGuire's started choking. And obviously, being the firefighters that we are, we're always firefighters. And so well, it didn't immediately. It was your wife that poked you, right? Yes, she did. So let's give credit where credit's due. As usual, the spouse always comes in and saves the day. But always being a firefighter, Firefighter Hoskins recognized the severity of the situation. Without any intervention, she would have potentially lodged that food in a position where you couldn't dislodge it, to where she would have probably potentially died. So Firefighter Hoskins went and facilitated the Heimlich maneuver, freed the food, and I don't think she finished eating, did she? Did they leave? No, Rita left before them. Really? So they did stick around. Wow. That's committed to the meal. I think I would have probably just packed up and like, this is probably not a good omen. We're not coming back here again. Yeah. Well, so thank you, Firefighter Hoskins, for your efforts in saving that woman's life, and we'd like to give him a round of applause. Thank you. Thank you. So this is a big one. There's a bunch of people here. So we have Firefighter King, Lieutenant Beagle, Firefighter Coulter, Firefighter Stivers, Firefighter Halfacre, Lieutenant Van Meter, and Firefighter Saxton. So the last time that we had to engage in this type of activity was 2014. We had serious flooding then. Sally was a situation that surprised a lot of people, people that are meteorologists that do that professionally, people that are firefighters. That storm shifted and changed to the point where that created a significant problem for us and for the citizens of Escambia County. We had serious flooding in the county, located in Bristol Park area, which is in Cantonment, and then along Perdido Bay, Malachi area, which is in Myrtle Groves area. Lieutenant Hunter is not here. He was also part of this group. But some of these individuals, to the extent, and the reason why it's significant, the reason why they're getting medals, is because it's beyond ordinary conditions. The water rescue that we saw is very dangerous, and not to take anything away, but these are beyond water rescue scenarios. This is rushing water. They were still engaged in active rescues while the eye of the hurricane is passing. Very dangerous debris, trees falling, limbs falling. People were afraid their whole house is going to wash away based on the level of flooding and the raging waters. So they weren't just flowing, they were raging. We didn't know how high the water was going to get still, so it required us to facilitate rescues. We don't have limited amounts of equipment for these scenarios. Basically, we're using sometimes what we acquire from people living in the area, which happened. We acquired a jet ski in one of these scenarios, and then we utilized the jet skis that we would normally use for water rescues in the Gulf of Mexico. And sometimes we have to be creative. Some of these individuals had to bash in doors and windows with the jet ski in order to get the people out. That's how serious it was. They rescued children, elderly, at a time in which we didn't know what else was going to get worse. We had very limited options to us, and so they did above and beyond what is required of us on a daily basis, and we appreciate their efforts, and thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you for your work. Thank you. Round of applause. Picture. Thank you. So we only have two more to go, two more sets of awards to go. So we don't want to steal too much of your time. But the next ones are our firefighters and officers of the year, and we give awards for volunteer firefighter and volunteer officer of the year, along with career firefighter and career officer of the year. So that's what you'll see here. So to the stage would like Lieutenant Torres and firefighter McMillan, both from Station 7. And so these awards are given based on peer review. All these awards can be not only just the firefighter of the year or the officer of the year, but any award can be applied to the awards committee for any event. So you can be a firefighter and say, hey, I saw this act occur. I think this is justifiable an award. So when you see the personnel get firefighter and officer of the year, that's from their peers, and then the committee votes on that. So these two individuals, Lieutenant Torres and firefighter McMillan, are worthy of this award, and we'd like to appreciate them for their efforts. Please, a round of applause to them. Thank you. Next up is Career Officer and Career Firefighter of the Year. So I'd like Longsworth and Lieutenant Jansen to the stage, please. So again, these are nominated by their peers and then voted on by the committee. So it is definitely an honor to have this award because it is evaluated by your peers in that way, and to be nominated by your peers is a tremendous accomplishment, and it's a great honor. So, but Firefighter of the Year, John Longsworth; Career Officer of the Year, Lieutenant Jansen. Thank you. Picture. So again, I greatly appreciate the opportunity that you guys gave us to do this. Thank you, Director Gilmore. This is something we have to do on a yearly basis, so I challenge him up that we continue to do that, because you can obviously see the amount of events that take place just within a given year that deserve some type of recognition above and beyond. It's important to not just our organization, but any organization, that you recognize the accomplishments of your personnel so that they understand that their focus is appreciated, that they're doing a good job, and to continue to do what they've been doing. And so that's what you guys have to remember, and that's what you have to push forward from this point on, okay, is to push your fellow personnel to continue to do the good work that we're doing regardless of the situation or the adversity that we currently have, okay? So I appreciate you guys coming. Thanks for your time and your efforts, and enjoy the start of college football is today. So Miami is going to beat Alabama, which will happen, okay? So thank you very much, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.